Hi guys, how are you doing? I'm just reaching from doing some exercise and I'm feeling energetic. I feel so great. And when I was doing my exercise, I thought about you guys, about what if you would do a little exercise for me. But hey, I want to see you doing your exercise. I want you to feel as great as I am. So I want you to do 10 jumping jacks. And I want you to record yourself doing it. After you have finished doing your exercise, I want you to share how you're feeling. And I want you to send it to me via WhatsApp.
So how is your heart feeling?
Breathing fast.
What else? How are you breathing?
Catching short of breath.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, touch your heart, where your heart is. What is happening to your heart?
Beat fast.
Okay. And how is your breathing?
Heavy.
I'm
breathing heavy.
okay.
Okay, so since we're in the mood of doing exercise, I want us to do a very important exercise. I want you to follow what I'm doing at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let's try that again. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Alright. So I want you to have in mind what we just did. And I want you to solve this riddle. I am in your chest. I help you breathe. I need air. And you have 2 of me. What am I? Alright. I want you to send your response via WhatsApp. Alright, very good. It's the lung. And we use the lungs to breathe. And we're only able to do this through a very important system. Do you know what that very important system is called? Let's find out and listen to this song. Each day I'm breathing air, I'm breathing air. The air is up through nose and mouth. Mucus, it worms and mycins. It worms and mycins. The trachea, the air goes down. Yeah, the trachea divides into both primary bronchus too. And you know it do. Yeah, branch of tertiary too. Branching narrow to bronchioles. Let's go. Respiratory system is made of the lungs and passages that lead them oxygen to blood. It travels from your body organs, everyone. Breathe out gas, carbon, and these are the lungs. And these are the lungs. That's right, it's the lungs. Respiratory system. So what system were we talking about? The respiratory system. Let's find out more about the respiratory system. The respiratory system. All living things need oxygen to breathe. And we do this through the process called the respiratory system. So we are only allowed to breathe through this process, and this process is very important. The respiratory system is the group of tissues and organs in your body that allows you to breathe. And we are going to find out more about how this process works. I want you to see this video and I want you to pay keen attention to it.
Air comes in through your nose and encounters little hairs that moisten it, heat it, and clean it to keep dirt out of your lungs. These little hairs are also known as cilia. The air continues down the pharynx, the larynx, and the trachea. The trachea, also known as the windpipe, splits into two to make the bronchus inside the lungs. Once the air is inside the lungs, it goes through pathways called the bronchioles. Your lungs are the most important organs in respiration. They take the oxygen from the air and expel, they take out the carbon dioxide that your body doesn't need, which is waste. The alveolar sac takes the oxygen and send it to the blood to distribute through all the organs and cells of our body. The diaphragm, located under your lungs, helps fill the lungs with air. That's when you inhale, you breathe in. It also expels the air your body doesn't need when you exhale or you breathe out. The air we exhale contains carbon dioxide and waste. And it is hot. You can actually feel the heat if you put your hand over your mouth when you breathe out. And this is the respiratory process. This is how we are able to receive oxygen and release carbon dioxide from our body.
Now that we have seen the process of the respiratory system, we can compare our lungs to a balloon. When we inhale, our lungs fill with air, and when we exhale, we release carbon dioxide. I am going to use this lung model to simulate how air flows in and out of our lung. Remember that when we inhale lung or when air enters remember that when we inhale air or air enters our body, it enters through our nose or our mouth. And then the air goes down the trachea, and the trachea filters the air that we have inhaled. The trachea is then divided into two parts, known as the bronchi. And then the air goes into our lung. So let's see how that works. You see? So when we inhale, our lungs get filled with air, and then when we exhale, we release the carbon dioxide. Let me show you one more time. When we inhale or when air enters our lung, we can see how our lung gets filled with air. And then when we exhale, we can see how that air comes out of our body through our nose or our mouth as carbon dioxide. Let's see it one more time. Alright, I hope that you enjoyed how I showed you. I hope that you enjoyed how we are able to observe how we breathe. And there's one important thing that I want you to know is that when we inhale, our diaphragm expands. And then when we exhale, our diaphragm contracts. So this is how we are able to breathe. So oxygen plays a very important role in our respiratory system because we need oxygen in the air that we breathe. If we did not have oxygen, we would not only be affected with our respiratory system, but in many other ways. For example, if we did not have oxygen, we would not be able to speak, or we would not be able to blow this balloon. See? So oxygen plays a very important role in our life. Now, where do you think that we get oxygen from? You can send your response via WhatsApp. Very good. We get oxygen, 20% of the oxygen that we inhale or we receive comes from plants. So plants are very important to us. That is why I told you that we need to protect our natural resources, because the oxygen that we inhale or we receive on a daily basis comes from plants. So therefore you need to protect your plants. Now, what are things that you would not be able to do if you did not have oxygen? We know that we need oxygen to breathe, but what are other things that we would be affected or we would not be able to do if we did not have oxygen? I want you to send your response via WhatsApp, and I want you to tell me what are things that you will not be able to do if we did not have oxygen.
We need oxygen to make a fire.
Number one answer. We will not able to run and play.
Without oxygen, we will not be able to talk or do anything.
After discussing the importance of oxygen in our life, we also need to bear in mind that there are several things that can affect our lungs. For example, right now, we are going through a terrible pandemic, which is no secret that many persons in our population are being affected by COVID, right? And when we hear about COVID on the news, the first thing that we hear is that it affects our lung. And there are many other things that affect our lung in our environment, and probably we don't even know about it, right? So I want you to find out, I want you to research about things that affect our breathing. Or probably you have experienced or you have found yourself having problem with breathing. You can share your experience, or your mom, your dad, your little brother or sister. You find out things that affect our breathing.
That can affect my breathing are things, food, mask, I can't breathe freely. Dust when you sleep, I will sneeze, and malfur, wrong medication, smoke, and fire.
Two things that cause affect our breathing are running nose and wheezing.
Having asthma affect my breathing.
Alright, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson as much as I did.
Alright, so for the engagement, I have activity 1. Students will be asked to construct a simple model of the human lung using plastic bottles, straw, and balloon. And here I shared a link on Google Classroom and on WhatsApp for them to view how they are going to make their model using the materials. And after they created their model, I asked them to send me an evidence of their lung model. As you can see here, we have them sharing their lung model. Activity 2, students will be asked to analyze how air flows in and out of the lung using the model and explain in their own words the respiratory process. For the differentiation, students will identify 1 to 4 parts of the respiratory process using the model. Here is a few evidence.
This is my lungs model. While I was doing it, I observed how we can breathe in. This is the nose. This is the windpipe. Then 2 balloons are the lungs. The windpipe go breathe into the lungs, and this is the diagram. To show how we breathe in, we pull along the diagram, and to show how we breathe out, we relax the diagram. This causes the air to go through the nose and the mouth. I expand the lungs.
Alright, so I did realize that I had a couple of my students mispronouncing the word diaphragm, and instead of saying diaphragm, they were using the word or saying the word as diagram. And I did do a little video and I sent it on WhatsApp, where I explained to them that the word diaphragm has the PH that sounds like the F, and then we have the G that is silent, so therefore the word is diaphragm, not diagram. And I asked them to send the correct pronunciation of the word via WhatsApp after viewing my video. Alright, after he made his presentation, I asked him what he liked about the this activity?
I like this experiment because I get to see how I breathe in and out.
This is evidence too.
The teacher's gonna class. Today we'll be talking about the respiratory system. The respiratory system is the nose. We breathing oxygen through that nose. Go down to the windpipe, goes down into the two bronchi, into the two lungs, which is the left lung and the right lung. The left lung has two pieces. The right lungs have 3 pieces. And this is how we breathe in oxygen. The end. Bye.
Alright, so after he did his presentation, I asked him to give a feedback about the activity as well, and this is what he said. They send their feedback on voice message.
I never know they hear in your nose and if you catch the dirt and you breathe 20,000 times a day. That's so insane. And then your lungs only your left lungs small, so the heart will fit behind it.
So you can see that he also did a little research on his own. Alright, so for day 2 activity 3, I uploaded a Peer Deck slide in Google class, and I shared it via WhatsApp. I shared the link where they're going to enter their password, which is this, and here I can see how many students enter and view the Peer Deck slide. So let me open it. Alright, so for my Peer Deck slide here, for the introduction, they would have to think of a question. Think of a question your classmates might have, and you're going to write your question here, which of course I am going to be answering throughout my lesson. And then they are going to view the video, the respiratory system. After they had viewed the video, they have to put I observed, describe what you saw or what happened, and they're going to explain to me here so that I'll be able to see what they grasp from the video. Then to check if they are understanding and how they're feeling, they're going to do this little activity here that says drag your dot to how you are feeling. Keep going, I understand, I am a little confused, stop, I need. So from here I will know if I am going on the right track, or if I need to slow down a bit or go back to something that probably they did not understand. Because if I got an amount of them that said stop, I need help, or I'm a little confused, then I would be able to go back and ask them on what they're confused or what they need more assistance. So to see if they are understanding, I did a little trick question here. When we breathe, we inhale carbon dioxide, and when we exhale, we release oxygen. And then for the conclusion, reflect on today's activity. What did you like? What didn't you like? What was easy and what was hard? And as I mentioned in previous lesson, they are able to enter their answer here or write it on a folder sheet and send to me. So this is the Peer Deck slide. Alright, so for the exploration, have students experiment not being able to breathe for a few seconds. Have them share their experience of not being able to breathe. I did explain to them that oxygen is very important for our life, not only for breathing but for many other things in our life. Therefore, I wanted them to do an activity where they would value more oxygen than just like, every day we get up and we know that we breathe in air, right? Even though we don't even think about it, because breathing is something that we do involuntarily. So sometimes we don't put that value or that interest of taking time and saying, well, the oxygen that we breathe is very important and the respiratory system is very important. We just know that we breathe. Therefore, this activity would allow them to experience a few seconds of not receiving that oxygen as they usually do, and then to share their experience of how they felt afterwards.
Okay. How you felt?
Difficult in breathing because I could not breathe without using my nose. Because thank God, God gave us nose so we can breathe.
Breathe. What else? That's it?
Alright, so here she is being grateful that she is able to breathe from her nose. Since she was using the straw to breathe in and to exhale, she found it a little challenging. So therefore, she is feeling very grateful that she's able to breathe through her nose, which is something that probably she didn't take in consideration before this activity. We're going to do an activity, and I want you to hold your breath for as long as you can. You're going to hold your nose, or you're going to cover your nose and your mouth. And when you feel you can no longer hold it, then you let it go, right? So let's start. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so how did you feel while you were holding your breath?
My heart was beating fast and I actually wanted to breathe in.
Alright, so here she experienced not being able to breathe normally, and therefore she had that necessity of wanting to inhale and breathe in oxygen. So I asked my students to share any questions that they had or anything that they wanted to know based on this topic, and this was one of the questions which they sent via voice message.
I know we need air to breathe, but is there any other reason why breathing is important?
So he wants to know if there is any other reason why breathing is important. The second one.
What happens if we breathe in dirty air?
Alright, so these were the two questions that they asked, and I sent them a little video with slides explaining their question. So for the first one, it says that he knows that breathing, we breathe in air, right, to live. So why else is it important? So I explained to them that breathing does not only serve the purpose of bringing in the amount of oxygen that the body needs to work, but it also flushes out toxic substance from our body, right? Like the waste gas. For example, the carbon dioxide that we exhale. And every function of the body, like the digestive system that digests our food, like moving your muscles, or even just thinking, right, needs oxygen. So breathing is important because when we breathe, we inhale oxygen, and oxygen is important for all of these things. And if we did not breathe in and we did not inhale oxygen, then all of these things will be affected. What would happen if we inhale dirty air? Alright, so probably if we are just cleaning our shelf, we're cleaning our room, and we get close to a place where it's really dusty, and we inhale that air, the little hairs in our nose called the cilia act like filters. So the dust particles would stick on the little hairs or the cilia, and therefore it would create like booger, right? That we call it booger. So we would constantly seem to feel that we have our nose dirty, right? That we have like mucus or booger, because all of that dirt particles accumulate there. Or sometimes if we would inhale dirty air, the dust particles would stay on the little tiny hairs, and we would want to sneeze. So that is one thing that would happen. And another thing that would happen if we inhale dirty air, like for a longer period of time, like for example, if we are exposed to polluted air for a long term, it would start to affect our lungs, because it would decrease the function of our lungs, and then we would start developing diseases such as asthma, bronchitis, or we would be suffering constantly cough, stuffy nose, and our lungs would be damaged. So these things would happen if we inhale dirty air. If we inhale dirty air, like just cleaning our room, moving stuff that have dust, we would sneeze or we would continuously have booger in our nose. But if it would be for a long term, being exposed to polluted air, then that would affect us internally, which would damage our lungs. So for the closure, before the closure, I also asked them to complete a worksheet that I upload in Google Class and I provided on their learning package. For the closure, I have students prepare a presentation demonstrating their understanding of the respiratory system. Have them record their video with their presentation and send via WhatsApp. So I did not specifically give them a task like, for example, create a poster or stuff like that. I asked them to be creative, to use anything that they wanted to demonstrate their understanding of the respiratory system. And these here are the evidence.
Respiratory system, the nose, the windpipe, and the lungs. This is my respiratory system. The nose helps us to breathe in air. The air content little here was clean it to keep dirt out of our lungs. The air is continuing down to our windpipe. The windpipe is divided into two, punching to the lungs. We have two lungs. The right side is small. The right side is bigger than the left. The left side is smaller for the space for our heart. At the bottom we got a diagram. When you inhale, it expands. When you exhale, it contracts. This is how it works. In the video, I hope you like it.
I'm a nose, I'm a nose, I'm a nose, I'm a nose.
I inhale.
Air, I inhale air, I inhale air, I inhale air.
Without
Air, without air, without air, we will die. My main purpose is to smile to you. My main purpose is to breathe to you. I love myself. I have 1,000 tiny little hits. I call that cilia. It helps me breathe the air I breathe in.